Alright guys, welcome back to Young Black Suburban. Today, our guest is someone who recently moved back to the area. He contacted me on social media before he even moved back here. We kind of built a little rapport. And he's shown up and you said you were coming through.
Yep. Came
through. You know, you liked the gym, you signed up. And upon meeting you, I realized that this guy is a bit of a character. He's eccentric. You're saying hi to everybody. You know, you make sure that you give people compliments.
Yeah.
You are the first guest to bring his own drink onto the show.
Thank you.
My guest today is Ron Marvo. How you doing, Ron?
I'm great, Tim, man. And I appreciate the compliments, man.
Yeah. You know, not to cut you off.
Please.
I know our guests are waiting to hear who Ron Marvo is, but instantly you can tell someone's energy. You know, you're a boxer. Your main job is to read body language. You know, and I instantly knew that this is somebody who knows how to talk to people, who knows how to build relationships. And I'm like, let's go. Let's be on the podcast.
And Tim, before I even say anything about myself, because number one, I do not like talk about myself normally, except unless we're sharing value with each other.
Right.
The first thing I noticed about you, and the reason I reached out, was I knew I was moving to the area. Me and my girlfriend, after 4.5 years, finally decided that it was time we wanted to live together.
Right.
And we were waiting financially for a while to do it and things like that. And we finally got an opportunity to do so and left New Jersey from where we were in East Brunswick, New Jersey.
Right.
And I instantly started searching out a boxing gym. Mm-hmm. And when I did a search, and a couple came up, and I saw, the Witherspoon name, and I had been familiar with your father,
right.
Just from being a boxing fan, and watching film and things like that. And the first thing I instantly noticed was the level of genuine, authentic care you have for the people you train.
Yeah, thank you.
When I was looking on social media, and it's tough to find that in our world because I feel like in the boxing world there's a lot of ego.
Right.
And a lot of people that are very interest and looking to create self-serving business.
Yeah.
Boxing gave me something in my life that I could never explain exactly.
Before you explain
go shoot.
Let's get the Basil Hayden.
Oh yeah,
let's bring it out.
I didn't mean to give you a long-winded compliment, but I wanted to say huge kudos to you.
Can you bring it in? Thank you.
Thanks,
here. You're the first. We're not going to really say their name too much, but you're the first person to bring a drink on. We usually do the Young Suburban thing,
Thank you.
we used to do, and get boxed wine.
Yeah.
You see Jordan come in the shot here.
Dude, the minute you told me that you like bourbon, I actually went out looking for Buffalo Trace, and not that Basil Hayden's is bad because it's a nice bourbon,
right?
But we kind of talked about it for a second, and I couldn't believe it. You said bourbon, and I was like, that's what I'm surrounded by all the time.
Right.
My business partner Sandy Sarami is a huge bourbon drinker, and I became one over time. So it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I've recently become a bourbon drinker myself.
How do these ice cubes work?
All right, so they're a little funky, and I got you.
Now, if you drink bourbon,
the ice
matters.
The ice sphere, as they would say.
Whoa.
Oh, you do this.
An ice ball.
Yeah, no, it's nice.
You never seen an ice ball in person?
I've never seen an ice ball in person.
Ice ball's sweet.
I don't pay you enough.
You gotta more, bro. You gotta show an ice ball.
I don't pay you enough. But so where are you from originally, man?
So originally,
this
Tim,
is really gonna be like our first really
getting to know each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. No, exactly. And I was actually, had some questions for you as we go in.
Yeah. My man, so Ron's the kind of person that brings a notebook. Like,
yeah, bro. So we have a hashtag in our business called hashtag WTSD. And is this 18 over?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hashtag write that shit down.
Okay.
So whenever something is important enough to remember,
you have to write it down.
Write it down because it's easy to forget stuff, and if it's important enough for somebody to share, I like to write it down.
Right.
So
it's crazy, man, because back in the day, I talked about it before on the show that like I did a little rapping, and
Nice.
some of my best rhymes, I woke up out of my sleep and wrote them down, and then went back to sleep.
Yeah. The best ideas come at 3 a.m. sometimes.
Also, some of my best rhymes that I felt were lost because I never wrote them down.
Yeah, that too. Or like you're like, yeah, I'm gonna remember in the morning.
Yeah, you never.
And then you wake up, you're like, what the heck was I thinking?
Because if you're rapping,
yeah,
you can write a whole verse in your head.
Mm-hmm. Especially
practice reciting it.
Yeah.
And never have to write it down. You can go right to the studio.
100%.
I catch myself doing that sometimes.
Yeah.
But sometimes I lose some really good stuff. Like, man, what was that?
Totally.
Especially when you medicate.
Yeah, of course, right?
Yeah, but again, you grew up where?
So I grew up in East Brunswick, New Jersey.
Right.
I moved there when I was about 7 years old from Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
That's where I was born.
Mm-hmm.
And then I lived there for the last 25 years of my life almost.
Right.
You know, so.
Nice. How was it growing up there? Was it suburban?
It was suburban.
Yeah.
It was definitely suburban. There's a big mix of people. You know, I grew up with people of every nationality, color combo, everything. So I never seen color in my life.
Right.
You know, I'm a big fan of loving everybody. So
look, this is what we got to do now.
Talk to me.
So when people say that they don't see color, I understand where they're coming from. I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I want you to see my color.
Absolutely.
I want you to be like, man, you know, this guy, yeah, he's an African American doing great.
Yeah.
Doing good things for his community.
1000%. And I love to learn about culture.
Yeah. So kind of like when you say you don't see color, it's like,
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Could that come off? Because I don't know.
Yeah.
Could that come off as disrespectful to somebody?
I do this every day.
Yeah.
It's not just you.
Yeah.
It's kind of like my job. It depends on who you're talking to.
Right.
There might be other black people that don't think like me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just saying like, I'm black.
Yeah.
And I own a business. And
Yeah.
I take care of my kids. I don't know.
That's a beautiful
in
thing,
jail.
man.
Yeah. So look at me. When I opened up this gym, that was part of my mindset because there's little white kids and little black kids that never see a guy that looks like me in a high position like this.
And not everybody does, and it is true. Like I know I say I don't see color, but not everybody gets the same opportunities.
Yeah.
And I totally know that.
Yeah.
You know, so I guess in my thought process of that phrase, it's like anybody, regardless of the color of your skin, has the opportunity, hopefully, to chase what they want and never give up. So that's the biggest thing for me.
And I know exactly what you meant.
Yeah.
Now I want to challenge you.
Please.
And tell you to say, yeah, I do see color.
I see color.
I see all the good things that it brings.
Absolutely.
Right? So now let's bring that to the forefront of what and I'll try to do it too because I'm not perfect.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Listen, we learn from each other this way.
Exactly.
And that's the beauty of it. So
exactly.
But so I grew up with everybody in my town. Pretty big town. About 700 kids in each graduating class. So lots of people in general. And pretty, for the most part, easy upbringing. My father brought me out there because he didn't want me to grow up in Brooklyn. He didn't want me to grow up like he did, struggling. Right. He wanted me to have things that he didn't have. You know?
As a father should.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I would want that for my kids, and as you would for yours. You know.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you're going through high school. You decide that you want to have a career. One day, you got to take your education to the next level.
Yeah.
Where did you go to college?
So I went originally to DeVry University.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because it's like we all, not all of us, but a lot of us go to school and we don't recognize the importance of learning, right? When you're younger, you're like, yeah, no, I don't need to spend my time with that. And you don't really fully commit yourself. And that could be in anything, school, you know, extracurricular activities, family life, relatives, friends. Yeah. And I went to DeVry out of high school, and I went there for accounting. And my father was so gun-ho on me going to college that he goes, go to DeVry, you graduate 2 years and 8 months with your bachelor's, you don't have to do 4 years, and then go to work. He's like, get out of college, go to work, you don't need the college experience.
Well, he wanted you to be self-sufficient, I guess.
Yeah, you get right to work and be able to make money.
Yeah.
And I found out that DeVry wasn't a business accredited school, and instead of just leaving and transferring, I just stopped going to class. I was hanging out with friends, carrying on. And then I went to Brookdale Community College from there. I was able to finally transfer once they said, you're failing for too long. And I said, well, I still want to go to school.
Right.
I go to Brookdale. The same thing continues to me for one more semester where I wasn't applying myself. And then I said, you know what? I said, the only reason I'm doing bad is because I'm not trying. I'm just not giving. I'm not giving the effort that I need to be giving.
What do you think that was? You think that you were just young at the time, or?
I think I was young at the time, and I think I didn't realize how important it was to, number one, get knowledge, but also not waste the opportunity of. I always say I want to live to my full potential with my heart, my mind, my body. Part of the reason I still box at 30. It's like an ongoing journey.
Right.
So I go to Brookdale, and then I finish Brookdale, and then I go to West Virginia University for my bachelor's, and I get in by the skin of my teeth because I made up for, a little bit of my failures in the early years of college.
Right.
And I remember when West Virginia called me to tell me I was accepted, or emailed me rather, and I was working as a server in an Italian restaurant in my town. And I went to the bathroom and I cried because they almost didn't let me in.
Right.
And I was like, I'm not going to squander this opportunity. And I left there in 2 years with a 3.4 GPA and my bachelor's in business, and I did it. I saw it through.
Back, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's nice, man. Do you think the ice is set in enough that we can do?
Let's do a cheers.
Oh, cheers!
Grateful to be here.
Yeah, that's it.
Thanks,
man.
Tim.
I'm glad you're here. But it wasn't like that wasn't the only thing that you had to fight through. You had some tragedy early on in your life, right?
Yeah, I know that I sent you a quick brief bio on me and mentioned my mom, which what we're getting into here. When I was a kid, my mom put me, and I put the brief obviously there. My mom put me in a car seat when we were living in Florida. My dad had moved us from Brooklyn to Florida to start his own carpentry company, and had decided that was a better opportunity because he can build decks with like hot tubs and stuff. My mom puts me into a car seat, bangs her head getting out of the car. And then about 6 days later, she's laying in bed and she wakes up and the entire right side of her face and her right hand were completely numb, like pins and needles, and had no motion in it. So we rush to the hospital, and I'm barely 2.
Right.
And my dad is in the weight room, and obviously I can repeat the story because I've heard it enough times.
Yeah.
And 9, Tim, no lie, 9 neurosurgeons walk in the room and tell my dad that my mom has 6 months to live, and she has something called a glioblastoma, which is a cancerous tumor on your brain.
Right.
My grandparents, who are off the boat Italians, freak out, oh my God, of course, naturally. Yeah. And my dad, being the drill sergeant, never give up, never surrender mentality, is like, I'm bringing her back to New York. She'll get better health care there. Grandparents didn't want him to, and he said, I don't care. She's going to die if we stay in Florida, and I'm not taking that as the only option.
Yeah.
Moves back to New York with her while I'm still in Florida being babysat by my uncle and my sister, who's 18 months older than me. And they go to see a doctor who's one of the head neurosurgeons in the country. It's Dr. Solomon. And he's uncomfortable with doing the surgery. And he goes, I don't want to do it, but here's a book of everybody worth their salt who could potentially do this for you. And I don't know if you're religious.
Yeah.
I have faith.
Yeah, faith. There you go.
Yeah, I call it faith, and everybody's got their own idea of what that is.
Right.
And my mom opens the book, just opens it, and finds a guy on a page, Dr. Michael Dugali, who had done a surgery on a 6-year-old boy in Russia. That was for an AVM, an atrauvenous malformation. And in plain English, that is a blood vessel that's weak in your brain that pops and puts pressure on your brain. And it can appear on film as a cancerous tumor. So my dad's like, we got to talk to this guy.
Right.
A couple months later, after meeting him, they do the surgery. Turns out it is an AVM. And my mom had 7-hour wide-awake brain surgery. They saved her life on 2020.
Wow.
And it left her with scarring on her brain, left her with seizure disorder, but thank God she takes medicine for that. She's 54, healthy. You'd never know that happened to her.
Wow.
If they didn't do that, and let's say they stayed in Florida and they just did the surgery,
right.
I don't want to be vulgar, but they would have done like an ice cream scoop, and you take the tumor out, and it would literally mess with her motor function.
Right. And also probably grow back, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, or that too. So
that's a crazy story.
Divine intervention, man.
And you know, for me, I think about her parents and how hard that must have been at the time. You know, you were a baby. You didn't really register everything, and your father. Obviously, your mom was going through it, but for them to be fighting on, you know, where they were going to go, and then for it to eventually work out is great. But that is
miracle.
It's like, man, fuck.
You know, dad the day of mom's surgery went to the church that they were married at because they were in New York.
Yeah.
And he went there to go see the priest, and this is like kind of give you goosebumps part of the story too. Mm-hmm. He went to go see the priest that married them, and he wasn't there. So my dad's sitting in the pew crying. And all of a sudden, another priest walks out of the back, and it's this redheaded ginger priest. Never met him a day in his life. And a guy walks out and goes, "You're Ron Marvo, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "I know why you're here. God sent you here." And my dad goes, in his mind at the time, "Who's this Jesus freak? He's telling me that God sent me here. I don't, you know." My faith is like almost out the window. I'm about to lose my wife, who's, by the way, my parents 15 years apart in age. So my dad's 37, my mom's 22
right
and a half.
Wow.
And he goes, "No, God sent you here, and I know why." He goes, "I want you to come up here, Ronald." And my dad walks up. He goes, "I want you to take your hand and put it on the left side of my head." My dad's like, "This man wants me to touch him," and he does it.
Yeah.
And the priest had a giant piece of his skull missing right here because he had a similar surgery to my mom's.
Wow.
And my dad instantly started bawling his eyes out. Long story short of it, walks in the back with him. The guy goes, "You must be hungry. Let me make you a PB&J." Mm-hmm. And you know those old school jelly jars, the Smucker's jars?
Yeah.
So the priest made my dad a peanut butter and jelly, emptied that jar, put holy water from the Lourdes fountain in France, and gave it to my dad. Later that day, he goes and sees that my mom's alive and okay.
Yeah.
And
sorry, I didn't mean to be
no,
rude.
you're not being rude. You're not being rude. I know that we have a certain amount of time.
No, it's not the time. I just want to make sure that the next guest
please, sure,
doesn't mess up. Sorry,
so no, you're quite all right. Don't apologize, bro. No, it's cool. This is called life. We're humans.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's that same jar my dad still has, and we give it to families who have trouble, that are going through health issues, having trouble having babies. We give it to them. They have kids.
Right.
And it always makes more water. So that's that story.
Wow.
So pretty interesting.
Yeah,
I have huge faith that there are other things around us that we don't see that guide us in our lives to meet certain people. And
what a
all kinds of stuff.
What a day.
Yeah.
So I often have to tell our viewers that I film multiple episodes of the podcast a day.
Which I love, by the way. It's really cool.
The last one that we filmed today was with Pastor Margaret Guy. She's a pastor. She has a nonprofit where she helps out kids that have been affected with violence. By violence, somebody in their family's been shot or whatever.
Wow, it's incredible that she helps.
Yeah, so she has a church now that is sitting on like old soldier military land or whatever.
Yeah.
So she shows me a picture of Christmas time of a guy that they had dressed as Santa Claus. But then you do, and I'm not somebody who I've never seen any extra stuff in my life.
Phenomena?
You know? Yeah, phenomena.
Spirits, ghosts?
Yeah, nothing.
All right.
You can see in this picture silhouettes of other things in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's energy there.
Yeah, well, these silhouettes were silhouettes.
So that was the first time you've seen something like that?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna, for my mind, just say it was Photoshop.
Yeah, right. It's like it just makes it easier.
Yeah, it just makes it easier.
No, man.
Me.
I mean, that stuff
but
is.
But that's
there.
how you're in that realm of things.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I can be.
Yeah.
You know, I don't try to say that it's there if it's not. It's more of a feeling than being able to see with your eyes, just like faith, right?
Right.
Like you could feel energy.
Yeah.
You know?
So I'm a big believer on energy, but the energy that I believe is like the energy that I explained earlier when you came into the gym.
For sure.
Like what you put out is what you get back kind of energy. I'm not talking about like I'm shadow boxing and then Joe Louis shows up next to me.
Nothing like that.
Yeah,
yep, I got you. No, I never had anything like that happen to me.
Right.
Obviously, it could be a little bit nutty.
Yeah.
I have seen things in like a half asleep state when I was a kid, and I have a story that I'll tell you, off the record, just for fun.
Yeah.
That literally I could feel when I tell the story.
Right.
It gave me goosebumps to this day. I saw like an apparition in my room, and it like went through me, and I was in like a half asleep state when I was like 11.
Damn.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
But I've always felt a little bit more interconnection to people, to the universe, to the planet. Mm-hmm. And I do believe people meet for a reason, and I feel like that I moved here and met you for a reason.
Yeah, definitely.
I love that you interview people and talk to people and hear their stories, and you care about their stories.
Definitely.
So
man.
It's awesome, man.
Part of what I do here, like boxing is like down here.
Yeah.
I am a therapist,
Yeah.
I talk to people. They talk to me. I find out. I know a lot about people and their lives,
Yeah.
And what it does is it brings us together at the end, And if you are the leader of something, you want to be the person that sets the tone. You want to be the person that starts the energy in the right direction. So I feel like when I talk to you, first thing, find out what your name is and don't forget it.
Yeah, of course.
That's the start of us and you learning the temperament of the gym, learning you the atmosphere that I'm trying to create.
Yeah.
And that's why I bring some people that belong to my gym here.
Yeah.
Because there's more.
Yeah, there is.
And there's more. You're a businessman yourself. Well, I guess you are a businessman who works for businesses.
Yes,
right.
Essentially.
Why don't you explain what you do today?
So, pretty much the way I explain to people is, have you ever sat in a sales training in any job in your life that you were like, geez, this is horrible, like it's boring as all heck, or watched a film or something like that, or had to listen to somebody who was part of curriculum in school and it was just very dead and not exciting. Yeah. So I work with a gentleman named Sandy Sarami who I met in automotive. Okay. When I graduated college, I wanted to work for Audi Corporate. So I had already at that time been boxing coaching from my house. I had the ring in the basement. We could talk about that another time.
So you were training people for money?
Yes and no, because like you have people, I'm sure, and this is where I think that we share a lot of similarities, that because of the position you're in as a leader, they will just come and open book talk to you.
Yeah.
And want to kind of tell you what's going on in their lives. Mm-hmm. People do that to me.
Yeah.
My girlfriend calls it being a social butterfly, but I just feel like that's energy that people gravitate towards, like they feel like they can trust us to have conversation.
Exactly.
Anyway, I didn't charge money to do it for a living. Mm-hmm. I did it for people that wanted to come and learn how to box or gain confidence, discipline, lose weight. And I would charge like $25 for an hour, dude. Like,
right.
And if I knew somebody didn't have the money, I had one kid who I'm still friends with to this day who just didn't have it, I just did it. Yeah. Because I loved it. I know what it did for me in my life.
Right.
So using that give back, I wanted to help people. Yeah. And I'm a huge car enthusiast. Yeah. So dad professionally drag raced motorcycles growing up. I was around boats and cars and shit like that. And I wanted to work for Audi. And specifically, one of my best friends was an Audi mechanic. Yeah. So I go to work at a dealership in New Jersey, and I'm struggling at first. Like I would come home crying sometimes. Like I can't sell a car, but I know everything about cars, and that wasn't it. It's not about that. It's about people's number one fear is the fear of being taken advantage of or making a mistake.
Yeah.
And if you can speak to that and help them find those highlight features that are most important to them, whether it's selling a car or growing a boxing business or growing a podcast, you're going to be able to do it because you're a client advocate and a certain servant leader.
I often say that people give money to people that they trust.
Yeah, everything's trust built.
So the car business is a business where no one trusts you.
Yeah, so I went in there from also 10 years of being a bartender and server and hospitality industry where people aren't negotiating or nothing to people that were walking through showroom doors ready for a fight. And I'm not I know we're boxers, right? But we're not confrontational people.
Not at all.
It's like, it's so funny.
We're actually educated. Like, to me, I'm not going to fight because people have guns.
Yeah.
It's like...
And if one of my friends is going to get into a fight, like when we were younger, I'm sure it happened to you, I'm the one trying to stop the violence if I can.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're their own worst enemy.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you can't help it.
So is the people that can't fight.
Yeah, true. And then you're like, damn, man, like, I can't even go out with you, bro. Because not only do you get in fights, but then you get beat up. Like,
Who's going to protect me?
Yeah, right? So anyway, so I was at Audi, and I was in Audi for about 4 months, and that's where I met Sandy, who is my current business partner.
Cool.
And Sandy was doing sales training for dealerships, and me and him just took a quick liking to each other. He knew I was somebody different in the room by the way I was taking notes and listening, and I was engaged. And we stayed in touch for 4 years, and I had left that dealership and went to, you ever heard of Ray Katina? No. It's an automotive.
Yeah. Is that New Jersey thing?
Yes, it's an automotive group in New Jersey.
Okay.
It's privately held, and it's known for being a quote unquote legend in luxury. It's like walking into a hotel of dealerships, like a 4-star hotel.
Okay.
So I wanted to work somewhere that really cared about putting the client first, and I went there.
Right.
At the time when I went, I became a top-ranked Audi brand specialist in the country. I did finance there as well. And then Sandy came to me with a proposition to, how would you like to help other people go through the learning curve and learn the right way out of the gates and not go through the issues that are created in automotive by management who doesn't care about training the new people, and all these problems that the automotive industry has from a cultural standpoint, and do something that's bigger than me. Right. And I was already helping people from a car situation. I used to always say, I'm not a car salesman, I'm a car coach. Because even if somebody didn't buy a car from me, I wanted them to have all the information they needed to make the best decision possible for them.
Right.
You might not buy a car from me ever.
Yeah.
But if I steer you in the right direction, I did my job, because at the end of the day, you might send somebody to me that wants an Audi in the future.
Put that energy out there.
Whatever exactly.
Yeah.
It's a level of care that can be felt rather than heard.
Definitely.
So that's what brought me to where I'm at today. And Sandy and I are doing a podcast that we just started called Icons, Influencers, and Inspirations.
Well, don't forget me.
Oh, I already had that in the back of my mind, man. We were going to have that chat no matter what.
All right, cool.
So that's happening sooner than later.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, so we're doing the podcast, and we're building out selling courses to help train automotive salespeople.
Nice.
And then we're also going to go into other areas of business.
So you guys are a legit business outside of your normal job, or is this all you do in your business?
This is all we do in our business. Besides, also, we do some recruiting for dealerships. We do live in-person training. We do coaching as well. Like, we have a coaching client in Texas who sells custom suits. So we're helping him grow his business.
So it's not just automotive.
It's really business development.
So let's break it down.
Sure.
Someone contacts you. What's the first order of operation?
I want to find out what their biggest issue is, their single biggest problem, and what their end state wants to be. What's your goal?
Yeah.
What are you looking to build, accomplish, achieve, avoid? Sometimes people are looking just for loss aversion. They're just trying to avoid loss. So I'm really finding those details out. Rather than, this is what I can do for you.
Right.
It's not about me.
Yeah. You're really trying to go in.
Same thing when we're training people in boxing.
I was gonna use that as an analogy.
Yeah.
You're really going in there and trying to make sure that jab is correct.
And,
you know, they're doing the right movement.
Or like you see somebody throwing power and get the form down first. Don't add power yet, you know?
Yeah. Different aspects.
Yeah.
I got you. So do you have like a big clientele right now, or?
It's for the most part automotive. I wouldn't say it's massive amount of clientele. We're trying to get to a point where we'll be scalable, where we can sell the courses and then be able to go do live, speaking engagements and trainings at dealerships and businesses across country.
And what was the name of your?
It's Sandy Cerami and Associates.
Okay.
So Sandy had already been solo entrepreneur for the last 11 years, and then he had chosen me to do this with him moving forward. So I'm helping him, he's helping me. We exchange value, and he's a mentor to me and a great friend.
Did you see it coming when he asked you to do it with him?
When he first asked me, I wasn't sure what he wanted to talk about per se. I know that he's like, I got an idea. I was like, And the only downturn to working in automotive retail was the hours, honestly. I'd be there 60, 70 hours a week. And when you talk about being able to even get to the gym and train and chase my physical part of it with the boxing, I had no time. So this has become an opportunity for me to be more well-rounded, learn how to serve more people and the bigger picture. So at first, no, I wasn't sure what it was going to be, and it's evolved as we've gone on for the last 8 months. We're together now, working together. So it's finally getting to the point where we've distilled down who we want to help, how we want to help them, and now here we go. So 2022 is gearing up to be a good year.
So this is your first year?
Yeah, official together.
Operating.
Yeah.
Wow. So not only do you have to teach other businesses how to grow,
we learn at the same time.
Yeah.
And I'm learning things like software development and building websites and creating pages with opt-in forms.
Yeah.
And I never want to come off as gimmicky, right? I want to be able to tell stories that build value and speak to people that have actual burning issues.
I could use you a lot.
Yeah. We could help each other.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get there after the.
I love it.
Well, so, you keep bringing up boxing and everything. Is no secret you're a member here.
Yes, gladly.
What got you into boxing?
So what got me into boxing was, number one, like I had mentioned before, Dad was a drill sergeant in the Army. Growing up, I was twig skinny my whole life. And my sister was more of the tough one. Where like we would be on the neighborhood, and you remember the big water guns from back in the day?
I had a neighbor, soaker.
Yeah, the monster super soakers with the book bag. So I got a neighbor that just housed me in the backyard one time, and I was so small I couldn't carry it. My sister walked across the street, walked up to him, and rocked him for doing that to me. So she was like, nobody messes with my brother.
She's a year and a half.
And my father, so she was always very protective. My father was like, if anybody ever tries to put their hands on you, and I hear you didn't defend yourself, we're gonna have a problem.
Right.
Because never let anybody do that.
Yeah. It's crazy. That's like culturally something that crosses lines. Like I feel like everybody has somebody in their family, or their dad said, "Don't come home unless you fall."
Right. Yeah.
It's a crazy thing. Like it doesn't matter where you're from. Like
don't
come home and
throwing that punch back earns respect, right? In a way. So don't let anybody disrespect you is the underlying problem there. If you don't defend yourself, like you just let them get away with disrespecting you, and you understand what that is, And I'm sure you have stories from growing up when Dad was like, "No, don't let that happen," kind of thing, maybe potentially.
The fights that I've been in, schoolboy fights or whatever. They happen too quick. I was already fighting that.
I was gonna say, or it didn't even happen because you already understood the dynamic.
So I had a couple.
Okay.
But it was always protect myself. My first fight was the 6th grader. I was only in 3rd grade. Was picking on little kids, and I don't know what I got. I don't know what
fueled you.
Do it. But I was like, yo,
let this happen.
Stop picking on those kids. Or whatever, and he turned around and he threw a football at me. I ducked the football. he was like starting to turn around. I hit him in the back of the head.
Oh,
and
man.
We started fighting. Then my dad came. He was somewhere. He drove home.
Yeah.
He got out of the car. And kids were trying to break it up. He was throwing kids that had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, get out of the way. Here comes your dad. That's great.
And broke us up. That was my first fight.
Yeah. I lived not even a football field from my elementary school. So like when we'd be at the schoolyard, my dad would whistle that big whistle.
Yeah.
If he wanted us,
and
you
knew.
That's it. Dad's calling us. It's over.
Yeah.
So anyway, how I got into boxing was. In 10th grade, I was 103 pounds, and I know the exact weight because I wrestled junior varsity at 103.
Right.
Dad was a proponent of, I never got the opportunities to play sports in school, so you got to try everything. Because like you don't know you like it till you try it. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm wrestling, I'm playing baseball, basketball, like sports that I just had sometimes no interest in, but he's like, try, give it your all.
Right.
And just try. So I'm 103 pounds in 10th grade, and someone I grew up with, our fathers rode motorcycles together. And he was a no-nonsense kid, but he wasn't a good kid in school. He had a bad MO for being a bully and getting into fist fights. Me, who am I messing with at 103 pounds?
Right.
I'm, nice to see you, talk to everybody. Yeah. Go.
Makes sense. No, I already think...
You're putting me together a little bit, right?
Well,
and that's good.
Because boxing's a sport where you go against other people that are your weight.
Yeah.
So at 103 pounds, you could go into boxing and be okay.
Yeah.
That's the part that I'm trying to connect right now. Is that something similar? Like.
Well, in this situation, which as I elaborate to you, number one, also, I'm sure you think, why do people get into boxing a lot of times? Because everybody's got kind of a story as to what brought them there.
Yeah.
Nobody just goes, I feel like, and does it.
Not to keep talking
please,
about myself,
but it's flow,
like,
bro.
My dad was fighting for the championship.
Yeah.
I was in his nuts,
Yeah.
So I had that picture. I don't know if you saw it of me as a baby when.
Yes, I did.
And my mom holding me next to Muhammad Ali. When people ask me how long I've been boxing, it's like.
Since I came out the womb.
Yeah, I don't really know. So it's fascinating when I ask other people.
How people got into it.
Why would you want to do something so stupid?
Yeah, you keep saying stupid, but it's fantastic. We love it. It's like crazy fantastic,
exactly.
Right? So in 10th grade, Nate, who I grew up with, again, dad and his dad and my dad rode motorcycles together, and someone had told him, and we're friends. Nate was like 230 pounds in 10th grade, about my height, but not in shape.
Right.
He was heavy.
Right.
And someone told him I was talking about his girlfriend. Mind you, years later, they're married with kids. And it was total bullshit.
Yeah.
I wasn't talking about his girl. Why would I?
Yeah.
He took it seriously, and we had science class first period of the day together. And he comes into school, and he's like, fuck you, this is that, blah, blah, blah. Like, you talking about my girl. I'm like, Nate, I didn't talk about your girl, bro.
Yeah.
But that's not what happened.
Yeah.
And you know it. I don't give a fuck, blah, blah, blah. And I avoided the issue. I go back home and I tell my dad, because my dad knows Nate, obviously.
Yeah.
In the same neighborhood. Like, I could throw a football to his house.
Right.
And I'm like, Dad, I don't know what to do. I don't want to fight, but Nate thinks I talked about his girl and he wants to fight me. Like, and he's huge. You want to talk, like, every time we step in the ring, I don't care how old you are, you get some level of butterflies.
Yeah.
No matter who you're getting in there with.
Yeah, definitely.
I was shitting my pants. Because I was like, I'm going to get beat up.
Yeah.
And my dad goes, listen, Ron, he goes, he's bigger than you and he's going to try to bully you. And what he's going to do is he's going to get in your face. I told Dad a little bit of the story, by the way, last time I was here.
All right.
He's going to get in a little bit, he's going to get in your face because he's going to try to flex on you. And when he does that and he goes to push you, I want you to hit him under the chin and aim for the ceiling.
Yeah.
Because his arms are going to be out here and he's going to put his chin out.
Yeah. Your dad was a trainer.
Well, no, Dad ran security in nightclubs in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay.
So Dad had thrown people out of clubs, been in fist fights his whole life.
Yeah.
And not a trained boxer, but a street fighter. Yeah. Essentially. Kind of like Kimbo, bro. He was a big dude.
He had a technique that worked.
Yeah. 550-pound squat. Anyway, he's a big man.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was like, okay. So he actually had me at the time, this is 07, he had a phone book and he was like practicing, like imagine this is his chin. And I was going like this and trying to hit him on the chin. The next day in school, I go, the bell rings, class ends, I'm going to walk out. Nate blocks me at the doorway, doesn't let me leave,
Same thing.
does exactly what my dad said he'd do,
Yeah.
and I hit him under the chin, and I drop him in the doorway in front of everybody.
Wow.
But here's the kicker.
You got suspended.
I froze.
Yeah. Oh, yeah?
I hit my friend, number one.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't want to get into a fight. Number two, I didn't know what to do next.
Right.
I go to help him up. Because I just wanted him off my back.
Yeah.
I pick him up, Tim, and he looks at me with big ass eyes, like, what just happened? And throws a huge, like, how we wouldn't teach in boxing.
Right.
Winds up to throw a punch.
Yeah.
Another thing you wouldn't teach in boxing, I turn my head. Because I'm like, I don't want to get hit, right?
Yeah.
He hits me in the back of the head, and then we roll into the science class, and he lunges at me while my chest is facing him. I turn, he lands on my back, both his arms come over my shoulders, and I am holding on for dear life while we're on the floor because he's trying to yank his arms out, and I know if he does, he's just going to wail on me.
Yeah.
He gets tired.
Yeah.
And he goes, if I get off you, just promise you won't hit me again.
Wow.
And I said, good, get the fuck off me.
Yeah.
He gets off me, and then we go to our assistant principal's office, who was our wrestling coach, out of all things. Both their dads come down, and my dad says in front of his father, to him in front of the principal, Nate, if you feel like you're not done with Ron, and he cheap-shotted you, anything like that, I rented a boxing gym. The two of you can put on headgear and gloves and beat the shit out of each other until one of you gets tired. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
And he said no.
Wow.
And my dad then turned when we got in the car and said to me, I'm taking you to learn how to box anyway, because now you kind of have a target on you.
Yeah.
If anybody thinks that you think you're a tough guy, they're going to try to fight you because of what you did to him. Mm-hmm. So now I go to the boxing gym, Jab at the time, which was around the block from my house. Mm-hmm. And that is where I meet Sizzlin' Sal Lopez. Sal was number 2 ranked ISBA, fought Hector Camacho for the world title, and was a decorated amateur Golden Glove champ, Diamond Glove champ multiple times. And that's where I started to box, and I fell in love with it. Mm-hmm. I was sparring, getting dropped with body shots,
right.
you know, like getting beat up
Yeah.
and learning. And I just fell in love with what it did for me as I started to get better at it, and I had some natural ability.
Right.
Sal was like, you know, why don't you fight and try it? Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah, Sal, like, let's do it. Yeah. And 8 months into me boxing is when I entered sub-novice Golden Gloves.
Right.
And I won the tournament.
Nice.
My first time out.
That's crazy.
But boxing changed my entire life, man.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine it. My dad always says, and not to cut you off.
No.
I'd never pictured you in a million years as a boxer.
You're right. Well, he did it.
Yeah.
He did it. But it's crazy that your first fight was in the Golden Gloves. Mm-hmm. And no matter what category.
Yeah.
And you went through and won it. So all of your fights were in that tournament?
No. So I had 2 fights in that tournament against the same kid twice.
Really?
I beat him in round 1. He won the loser's bracket. I met him back in the finals again and beat him again.
Okay.
He ended up going pro. We still talk. It's funny.
Okay, cool.
And then I had one other exhibition match outside of that. Mm-hmm. And then the other fight that I had was in Diamond Gloves in 2015 against a gentleman named Garrett Dugan. And he beat me in the semifinals with a body shot in the 3rd round, 10 seconds left, and it dropped me. And I got back up at, you can watch the fight on YouTube. I got back up at 7, and I stumbled, and the ref was like, nah.
Oh, yeah. Well, because it's amateur.
And I beat myself. Yeah. I put my head down a lot. I wasn't breathing properly. Mm-hmm. And I just knew in amateurs at the time, you got a dogfight. You only got 2-minute rounds. Yeah. You're swinging the whole time.
Definitely.
When really, if I had been more controlled, head up, and boxed, I would have been way more efficient and probably won the fight. But that's how we learn.
That's how we learn. Every boxer has hindsight.
Yeah, of course.
Where you're like, man, if I only did this.
Right,
if I only did that. And it's crazy because, I fought, one of my biggest fights was on ESPN.
Yeah, I seen the poster.
I only took it on 3 weeks' notice.
Wow.
I was on vacation a week before.
Wow.
Doing what you do on vacation.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Vacationing.
I only took 3 weeks, and my dad, he's always like, man, because I lost a decision. My dad's always like, man, if we only had one more week. But That's hindsight.
That's hindsight. It's always 2020.
Yeah. It's always 2020.
You know?
Do you remember being in the dressing room your first fight and how it felt?
Of course.
Yeah.
You know, the anxious butterflies. And I think at that point, it's more of, and you can definitely relate to this, it's more of you're going to be in front of people.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you get in the ring and it goes away.
Yeah.
Right. The first time you feel that, or you make contact, whether it's you hitting him or vice versa.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden
nobody else exists.
Nobody else exists.
Yeah.
There was one time in an amateur fight, the exhibition match in between the tournaments, where I hit the dude with a straight right hand and I heard the crowd go, ooh, and I froze, bro, because it was such a loud ooh that it was just like, what?
It like kind of woke you up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's like I just got the Oculus.
Oh, cool.
The VR, and when you put that on, you're not here anymore. You're in a different world.
Now you got blinders.
You got blind. Same thing when you're in the boxing ring.
Mm-hmm.
Those people don't exist. I tell people that the only person I could hear is my mom because she has a
very distinct voice.
Very distinct voice.
Cool.
But no one else can tell. I can't hear anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like you're in virtual reality. You're in a different world.
Yeah. Your level of focus is just what you're doing.
For young fighters to conquer is being present inside there. You know, I've had fights that I've won where I don't remember them.
Yeah.
It was autopilot.
It was also a lot of it for you is on autopilot because it's muscular memory too, right?
Yeah, but your mental part of it, where you can be in there and controlling the pace, slowing things down so you're not rushing, so you can be calculated, is very important.
Chris Algieri talks about that a lot. Like even on hitting the bag, if you can stay present in every moment in the gym.
You have to stay present. From the time that you are in the dressing room, walking to the crowd, you got to look, okay, there's my mom, there's my girlfriend. I'm getting in the ring right now. There's my opponent. These ropes feel good. You have to, because it's easy to not realize that you just went from the dressing room
to the ring
to the last bell.
It's over like that.
It really can be a fight. If you're present, you could feel every second of it. But if you are not present, you will not fucking remember anything.
Yeah, we would say some of the best boxers in history are able to be so present in that moment that it almost looks like they slow it down.
Yeah.
Especially for us that have that eye for watching it. You're like, wow, look at how the ring generalship that they present, you know, and things like that. So
Floyd is a really good example of that. He's
best
probably
ever.
the best. I hope he's talking to the judges while he's still boxing.
Yeah.
You know, that's the kind of presence you want. You want to. I've seen the multiple fighters hear what the commentators are saying while they're boxing and comment to the Roy Jones, another one.
Yeah.
You know, who are some of the fighters that you look up to?
Tyson is 100% one. I love his story and what he's been through. Roy Jones Jr., in my opinion, is one of the best pound for pound that ever lived.
Right.
Ali, of course. I would say Sugar Ray Leonard as well. Sweet Pea, Pernell Whitaker. Sal Lopez, of course, because I know him.
I like Sweet Pea. He used to be my favorite. And then I'm like, yo, I can't.
In today's era, I mean, I continue to be always a big fan of Lomachenko in terms of how he can create angles and stuff.
Yeah.
I love how Teofimo showed that hard work can win. And then he just lost to Kambosos. Like
that weight class is stacked.
It's super stacked.
You have Lomachenko, Teofimo, Joe Diaz. Gervonta's going to be trying to move up.
Haney's trying to be in there. Garcia, Campbell, which just got knocked out. But
that's a crazy weight class.
Yeah,
I wonder who's going to come out on top.
And then in terms of like heavyweights, like Wilder and Fury, I mean, you don't see stuff like that often. It kind of reminds me of, Holmes and, that generation of heavyweight and things like that.
In my opinion, though.
Yeah. I know where you
in go. My opinion.
Go. Shoot, I'm curious.
The guys back there.
Of course.
Like.
Totally different era, man, in terms of.
And don't get me wrong.
The dog in the fight.
I see these guys putting in a lot of work.
Yeah.
They have their diets. They have their personal trainers. They're putting in the time in the gym. But they are not. I'm trying to find the right word
to say. Yeah.
Educated the same way that those guys were educated.
From a boxing IQ standpoint?
Yes. The ring generalship, like you mentioned earlier.
Huge. Deontay was just an athlete, bro.
You could, yeah.
Turned into a boxer.
I fought on the same card as him before.
Yeah.
And he fought somebody who was wearing Jordans like you're wearing.
In the ring.
Right? Yeah, like they just found him.
Oh, my gosh.
But he's grown since then.
Of course.
Say that. But when you talk about a Larry Holmes, you talk about a George Foreman. Oh, my God. You talk about my father.
Your father,
you know,
yeah.
Those guys could still fight if they were lightweights. They could still fight if they were welterweights.
Yeah.
Their IQ of slipping and doing movements much different.
They cared about that to a different level than today's fighters, would you say?
I think that the educators back then aren't here anymore.
And they were better then.
I don't know.
I think they rely too much now maybe on the science and technology to help them benefit their fighters than I'm watching you. Like, that was one of my biggest issues, I guess, as I've gotten older with boxing. Like, after 2015 in that last fight, I went to school, I finished West Virginia, I started my career, and I always was going in and out of gyms and sparring and things like that. But to find people like you that actually pay attention to those little things, you go, like, you have the whole class going on and you can single out one person and what they're working on. Hey, we already talked about how you throw your jab and turn your wrist over. Make sure you're still doing that. I'm not seeing you do that. Those little critiques and fine-tune pieces make the difference.
Make a difference. And I've never been in another camp. You know, my dad's been my trainer.
Yeah.
I just don't know what goes on with some of these newer guys.
Yeah,
and
for
how
sure.
They could be missing some of these, to me, basics.
Yeah. I put it to you this way. I had a coach one time, and he was younger than me. And he was chasing his own pro career out of amateurs. And he was like, yeah, bro, I'll hold hand pads for you and work with you. And there came a point where we were in it only for like 2-3 weeks. And he said to me, listen, bro, like, I get it. You want to do pads with me and stuff, but I'm the talent. I'm the one that's going to make it. Like,
he said that to you?
Yeah, bro, right to my face. And I was like, and the minute he said that, and I'm not a confrontational person.
Yeah.
I don't have the ego for even being like, oh, fuck you, blah, blah. I said, no problem, I understand. And I never went back to him.
Wow.
But, like, people are very self-serving.
Yeah.
And coaching is not about self-service. It's about being a servant leader.
Definitely. I don't know if you follow, boxing trainers or anything. Like, do you have one that you idolize, that you look up to?
Well, I always love how Customato took Tyson and his family.
You really like Tyson.
Well, I love the story.
Yeah.
You know, and I love the underdog story a lot, too.
Right.
You know, somebody that was bullied and things like that, because I went through it, you know. Tyson Fury, how he went from being 300-plus pounds to being a world champion, you know, things like that. I love Customato from that generation. I would say Reynoso's done a great job with Canelo and his band of fighters. Go. Tim Witherspoon.
No, not me.
Because I would say it.
No, I have to keep paying my dues, and one day maybe I'll get a pro fighter, or whatever, and people can see what I do.
Yeah.
But I'm here trying to train whoever wants to learn boxing. It doesn't matter if you're 6 years old or 70.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you want to go pro one day or if you just want to. That's my philosophy.
Same.
You made me forget what I was gonna say.
I apologize. We're talking about coaches.
I was gonna be controversial a little bit.
Go, tell me.
What do you think about steroid use inside the sport of boxing? Because you mentioned the Canelo camp. And there's been a lot of allegations and a lot of things he has test positive.
I'll put it to you this way. I'll make the relation to powerlifting. Would you like some more, by the way?
I got enough. I'm a little more. All right, fuck it.
You know, this is our first celebration of getting chit chat and get to know each other, and I'm gonna have a little bit more with you.
You gotta sip bourbon. People don't realize that.
Yes, you do.
And then when you
all of a sudden catch it up to you.
Yeah.
Right, Jordan? You know.
I'm over here. I'm like,
you're like, damn. What time is this shit?
When's the last time I ate?
Yo,
right? Did I eat today?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It's always too late when you do that. I know what kind of guy he is now.
Yeah, bro, I'm a bourbon drinker, bro. Like, I'm not like a heavy drinker, but when we drink, I'll drink, you know?
Yeah, we're in there now.
I had a friend of mine that was always, yo, I'm bringing a bottle, I'm coming over. And it was shots, bro. And I'm just like, bro, you're trying to kill everybody.
Yeah. This is like, I'm a wine drinker.
Yeah.
I just went over to bourbon.
Sorry, we'll get better at this over time.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so I'll relate it to powerlifting.
Okay.
And here's the reason why. Because I know it from my father. If everybody in powerlifting, I don't know if you know how it works with like you know how they wear these super suits?
Yeah, exactly.
For like benching?
Yeah.
If you're gonna wear a super suit, you're in a class with people wearing super suits.
Yeah.
You know? Or if you're gonna wear wraps and not be raw, you're in a class with people that are wearing wraps.
Right.
If it was something that was regulated, I could be okay with if it's equal playing field.
Exactly.
That's all I care about.
I hear what you're saying.
That's actually more that I care about than anything. But also, the other part that I care about as well is the reputation to the sport.
Yeah.
And in today's day and age, like, people watch UFC and you understand it the same way I do, if not more. Yeah, bro, like, he got knocked out. Boxing's boring.
He got knocked out.
Yeah, bro, you see that? Like, dude got knocked out. Boxing's boring. Like, they just, you know, people run in boxing, blah, blah, blah.
Sorry.
Go.
The next guest is here.
So, I worry about the reputation getting smeared with the sport of boxing by something like that more than I'm concerned about somebody getting an edge if everybody was equal playing field.
Right. It's like...
What are your thoughts?
I just worry, and it's been the problem with boxing this whole time where there's different rules for different people. Depending on...
That I'm more mad about than anything.
Depending on where you fight is how you get charged. Depending on what organization you represent.
Yeah, are you adhering? You Bob Arum, Top Rank? What are you?
It all depends on that. And there's been instances where someone has been fined. They've been suspended for a year. There's been instances where they've been indefinitely done. And there's been instances where they get caught and they're still allowed to fight the next day.
Let me ask you a follow-up question to that then. What about people accusing certain boxers of being quote-unquote cherry pickers of opponents?
Yeah.
Do you think that that's more detrimental to the sport? Like, some people would argue that Mayweather wasn't one of the best ever because he waited to fight a Pacquiao or a Maidana and things like that.
I don't know how many world champions he's fought, but he's fought a lot of world champions.
That's what I'm saying. It's easy to be the person eating popcorn watching it get done, right?
So boxing's a business at the end of the day. Like I mentioned, 100%. Deontay Wilder fighting someone with Jordans on. Yeah, I make fun of it because he's a former world champ now. But I understand the business side of it where if this guy loses one fight, then he never becomes world champion.
Unless he has some crazy stupid streak or popularity.
There's a place in boxing for the journeyman, the person that builds the other person's record. And there's a strategy also. It's not cherry picking so much as a strategy. Everybody has to fight that hard opponent one day.
I use that term more for that's how the outside non-boxing world views it.
Exactly.
They think it's like, oh, well, you're not fighting the best kind of thing.
Right.
You know, when really it is a business. Floyd said it. Good publicity, bad publicity. You're still talking about me.
Exactly.
And that's all he cared about at the end of the day. It was dollars and cents. That and being able to get his gold in Atlanta.
But Logan Paul, Jake Paul.
How do you feel about that? It's business, right?
Right?
No, we're interviewing each other a little bit.
So yeah, exactly. I'm like,
we're both talkers, bro. So that's cool.
I said Jake and Logan to you, but I'll answer.
I'll answer first if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know that that's entertainment.
Yeah.
If other people feel that way is a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
I know it's entertainment. I know it's business.
Exactly.
So at the end of the day, I'm like, I can't be mad at him.
Yeah, exactly.
But I could also say, from a boxer standpoint, some people feeling like he cut the line.
Well, there's that, but every boxer has a choice, where they could have done the same thing.
For sure.
But they couldn't because those guys worked really hard on their persona, and who they are. And at the end of the day, when we're talking about business, that's what this is. And they are working the system. I like that they're working the system. I wish I could fight them.
Right? I know, right? I think every boxer out there is like, come on, let me fight you one time.
I wish they would give me that chance. I daydream about that, you know. But at the end of the day, I'm like, yo, go get your money. You know, it only takes one punch to never make money.
Everybody got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Exactly.
Mr. Tyson.
Yeah. So you're back in the area, or is this your first time?
This is my first time living here.
Yeah, first time living here.
I have a friend from Philly, and that's about the extent of my area out here.
What do you think about the area?
I love it. Yeah. To be honest, you know, again, like I said, this is the first place me and my girl got to live together. That's going fantastic. We're settling in and stuff. I like how people will just say hello. Yeah. So like in New Jersey, that's not as often of a thing. People are a little bit colder shoulder. I like Southern hospitality.
Just give it a couple more.
Give it a couple more months. You got it. But that's also partially, I'm sure, because of me. Because like I'm also that energy.
Yeah. Exactly. So what are your aspirations? Like, you know, you're doing what you're doing now. The future is right around the corner.
You're right.
What's going to be there for you?
Continuing to learn how to help more people. And that's not like a canned answer. That's just honest. Because the more people you help, the more influence you gain, the more business you build. But more importantly, not from a self-service standpoint, the more lives I could impact.
Right, exactly.
Whether it's in boxing, business, or just everyday life. I still, like I've told you when I first walked in here, I'm 30. I don't know what the potential is for me to do, you know, my pro part of my career in life for boxing. But that is something that I do want to pursue because my dad always said the biggest sin is wasted talent.
Right.
I never want to look back when I'm 45, 50, which boxing will still be in my life because I'll still be teaching and helping.
You'll be me.
You will,
retired.
Well, yeah, man. But I'd still like to get myself in there.
So let me just say this on film.
Please.
I've seen you spar. I've seen your potential. Fight for me here a couple of times, 2-3 times. Don't let us go.
Cool.
You know, we just said boxing's a business.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
This is usually at the end. We've been here for an hour. You probably can't tell.
No, because we just chop it up.
I already knew before you came on we're going to have a part 2.
Yeah, 100%, man.
We're definitely going to have a part 2.
You're coming on my podcast,
That's it. So I usually let my guests at the end of the show say something to the viewers, say something to the world, you know, put energy out that they want to put out. Yeah. What's something that it's a freestyle now.
Okay, cool. I'm game.
What's something that you would like to say?
I'd like to say to everybody to continue to learn, continue to get better and grow every day for yourselves and your families. Continue to have gratitude. We're all here, the same amount of humans sharing the same planet and resources. And understand that we can all have the opportunity to have better lives together, and always stay calm in a state of chaos.
Yeah.
You know, you being able to be present in the moment is your greatest gift that you can ever have, because as the saying goes, tomorrow is a mystery, yesterday is history, and right now is the present. And that's why we call it a present.
You put that on Facebook. Put that on Facebook. All right, man. I'm so happy to have you on the show. It was great.
Thanks, man.
The only guest to ever bring a drink.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Cheers, my brother.
I appreciate it. You're a good guy. That's Ron Marvo.
Right back at you.
This is the Young Black Suburban.
Witherspoon Boxing. Let's go. Hey.
Thank you.